Hello and welcome to another edition of the eCommerce Odyssey podcast. I'm here with Rael Cline from Nozzle. Would you like to tell us a bit about your business?
Yes, thank you so much for having me, Trevor. So I am co-founder and CEO of a London-based company called Nozzle. And our mission really is to give every Amazon seller the power to understand their customers and grow their business. And so if we delve a little bit deeper into what we're actually solving for, and the core issue for us is understanding your customer is really the first step into building a successful brand. And Amazon makes this really, really difficult to do. So, typically understanding customer behavior, the data is kind of messy all over the place, and it's very hard to take any action from that. So we provide a set of dashboards and metrics to help uncover what your customers are doing. So we do things like, what is your profit per customer? How much do I have to pay to acquire a new customer? What is my customer retention rates? How often are they buying? Are they buying the same things over and over again? And this helps you make strategic decisions about your business, whether to invest more in certain products or more advertising in certain products, and ultimately build a better brand. There's no better measure for building a brand than having an army of loyal customers. And that's what we're helping our customers do.
Because on Amazon, you can't contact customers directly.
Yeah.
At least you can't advertise them correctly. So the kind of classic,
Exactly.
retention marketing thing you would do is, I don't know, put in flyers or
abandoned cart emails,
or emails in general. Or what can you do? What can someone do on Amazon to improve their customer retention rate and their repeat purchase rate?
Yeah, so there's, I'd say kind of three things that you could do. Number one is back on the marketing and the advertising side. You can remarket to people. So you can say, over the last, show an ad to somebody who's bought within the last 30 or 60 days, right? And so you can say, you can nudge them to buy the same thing again, or you can try cross-sell or upsell, those sorts of things. But you could remarket to them, basically, is an advertising approach. Number two would be, and you've got to be a little bit careful to remain within the terms of service on Amazon, but within your packaging, you can do things to get them back on Amazon to go buy again, right? You've got to give them a reason to do that.
Against the rules, I probably can get away with it, but
you can. You've got to be, as I said, you've got to be very careful. There are absolutely terms of service compliant ways to do that. You obviously can't redirect them to Shopify or anything like that. That is the quickest way to get suspended. But you can do things around sending them back to go buy again back on Amazon. And so that would be a second way of doing it. Number three, which is really interesting, is I think it's only in the US for now, but it's currently in beta. And it's called the customer engagement tool. So this is something in Seller Central that is pretty new, hence the beta. But you're actually able to contact your customers via email for the first time, not because of a customer service query or fulfilling an order. For right now, it is extremely limited. It's literally one thing you can do. If someone is following your brand on Amazon, you can send an email when you launch a new product to them. So literally extremely limited. They even write the text for you. Like you don't have much choice of what you can do. However, they have sort of broken that rule around contacting customers outside of fulfilling an order, right? And so if you think where this could go in the future, if they start adding new use cases, as long as they've broken that rule, around emailing customers, then that's really exciting about what you can effectively email remarketing, or email as another tool in your arsenal to help with those repurchases. So that's definitely one to watch.
So do you have, this is a bit of Amazon I don't know that much about, but Amazon obviously sends out recommendation emails, right? Is there a way of influencing whether your products go into these recommendation emails?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I've never actually been asked that. I don't think so. I think that's
I never really thought of it. So
I think that's very much a black box on how to do that. I don't is the short answer. Clearly, when you're scrolling on the search results and all that, Amazon will say people who bought this also bought that, and try to do those sorts of things, and how to crack those. Yeah, so it's easy to guess what some of the important variables are, but like how important they are and all that is definitely a black box. So clearly, sales velocity, good ratings, and all that sort of stuff, and currently winning the buy box, all those sort of things are obviously important, but.
So am I saying that your software basically, it enables people to understand which of their products are getting better customer response, and then people can invest more in advertising those products.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so we're never gonna surface individual information. That's 100% against, again, in terms of service. We're never going to say Trevor did this and then he bought that. We're going to say things like, for the people who first bought in September of last year, you had 1,000 people buy your products in September of last year. 150 of them have bought again, and they tended to buy the same product again, or they tended to buy a variation of it, or that kind of stuff, right? So we're going to present information on a cohort level, and not actually name anyone individually, because again, quickest way to get suspended. But with that information, it becomes super, super useful, because you can understand, a bunch of use cases. I mean, one of the most important metrics I would say that we provide is this idea of profit per customer, or AKA customer lifetime value. Mm-hmm. And so this is your total profit per customer over their entire journey with you. So if, for instance, on average, people buy 4 times from you, and the total profit over those 4 purchases is $50, whatever it may be, that is incredibly useful, because it allows you to do things like, okay, I can spend up to $50 acquiring a new customer, knowing that I'm going to break even in 12 months. And if you take a step back and just look at what's going on in the Amazon ecosystem, you've got a lot of headwinds at the moment, right? You've got, some of them are just macroeconomic stuff. There's some massive supply chain issues and inflation and all those sorts of things. Some of them are particular to the Amazon environment, like Amazon increasing the referral fees. You've got stuff like aggregators coming in and buying up a lot of your competitors, and then you're thinking, gosh, how do I compete against that now that an aggregator owns one of my competitors? We've all seen CPCs increase a lot. And so really this idea is how do I look for a different way to compete? And one of the main things to do is to not to have the data to say, I don't need to break even on the first purchase. Mm-hmm. It's okay that I can break even on the second purchase, and that typically happens in the 3rd month. So if I'm prepared to wait 3 months, I can then completely change how I think about my advertising. And so many of our customers will say, I thought I could spend my break-even ACoS, right, is a fundamental calculation. It's how much you can, what's the maximum ACoS you can afford. And people would say, okay, it's 15%, 20%, whatever it may be. But we would give them the data to say, actually, it could be double that, right? Because the break-even ACoS assumes somebody just buys from you once. And we're saying, no, we've got the data to say on average, somebody buys twice, 3 times, whatever it is. And so you've got that level of comfort now saying, okay, I can spend a whole lot more than I thought. And so I can afford these higher CPCs, or even I can go after much higher category sort of search terms that have very high CPCs, right? And because I just know I can afford this if I just wait 3 months to break even. So yes, this idea is predicated on people being able to buy again from you, right? If your product is just mostly bought once by someone, sure, that's not really going to work. Or if you're going to have to wait, you're selling televisions and people buy another TV every 5 years, you're going to be waiting for a very long time. But if you're selling anything that is consumption led around food and drink, around supplements and health and beauty and pet products, and a bunch of categories, like household supplies, another one, anything that lends itself to repeat orders, this is a very, very powerful tool to strategically change your business and compete.
Okay, so how did you tell us about how you got the idea for Nozzle?
Yeah, so my previous business was a business called Media Gamma. And we were doing online advertising for big brands within what's called the programmatic ecosystem. So this is a world of online advertising where someone lands on a website in real time, in 100 milliseconds. There's an auction to show somebody an ad, a display ad, what is chosen, and the ad gets shown. So we were doing quite niche. We were doing custom algorithms, right, around how to bid for these things. And the most successful customers of ours were the ones that were not just interested in the advertising piece, but tying the advertising to what happened further down the line. So somebody clicked on the ad, installed my app, for instance, and 3 days later they paid me $3, and after 3 months that had grown to $30 that they paid me in total. And so this idea of customer lifetime value ultimately was really, really important to them. And that really dictated the ad spend and the budgets and the focus and all that sort of stuff. And so that worked really, really well with a lot of gaming companies, mobile gaming companies. And so when we sold the business, I thought to myself, this is such a powerful thing when you can actually connect the dots between the advertising and the 20th purchase or whatever it is. Where else can I apply this? And you quickly land on Amazon because, of course, Amazon itself is just growing, right, up and to the right. But also Amazon is a closed ecosystem. They actually do have the advertising component along with the retail component, all the orders data. And granted, you need to spend a hell of a lot of time trying to understand those data sets. Amazon's a very siloed organization. So, something that happens on the ad side, they don't really know what that means on the retail side and all that. But if you're able to piece together those sorts of things, then you've got, kind of a complete journey of the advertising piece and how that impacts all the way through to the 20th purchase, so to speak.
Mm-hmm. So, what are you seeing in terms of the best sellers who are using your system, and how are they getting the most out of it?
Yeah, I mean, they're focused on. Most businesses will either have kind of one of two outcomes. I'm either focused on profitability today, or I'm focused on growth and market share, and those imply very, very different actions off the back of that. And so, if somebody is just focused on profitability, then we would do things and say, hey, did you know that 80%, and these are real numbers for some, these are extreme numbers, but we have actually seen them. Did you know that 80% of your sales for your business is coming from repeat customers? That's just like a phenomenal, pretty much a subscription business at the end of the day. And so they don't have to spend much on advertising, right? These are like subscribe and save sort of use cases. And that's just an absolute cash cow. It's brilliant, right? You don't have to work hard to generate revenue because they just repeat ordering all the time on their own without having to be nudged. If, on the other hand, you want to grow, how do you grow your market share? Then you can use this, the lifetime value and the acquisition cost, what I was talking about earlier, in conjunction with each other. So we would say these are your products that have, maybe 60% of sales are coming from repeats, or whatever it is, 60 to 80%. You need to focus your advertising on new to brand customers, right? You really, really need to focus a lot of your, how do you do a really good job on that? But further down the line, you've got a high customer retention rate. That's going to pay for it's going to pay for the increased CPCs and all that. And so it's really about the strategy to go acquire new to brand customers, knowing that you've got a good customer retention rate that's going to pay itself off 3-6 months down the line, or whatever it may be. And often it's not the products that you think. So you might have a hero product, but no one really buys the hero products twice. Your most valuable customers might be buying sort of your mid-tier ASINs, right? They might not just be going after the hero ASINs. And so if you take a longer term view and really build up that mid-tier ASIN to account for a much bigger part of your business, you're going to have a very, very solid business, especially in today's environment. If you want to sell the business one day, people will pay a premium for high retention rates, and the closer you are to a subscription business, that really affects your exit multiple.
Okay, so obviously you seem to have a lot of knowledge about what you do. Is it a self-serve system that you have, or do you basically help people interpret it?
Yeah, so a really good question. A lot of the stuff that we're doing is quite nuanced. In short, we have two versions of the product. There is a self-serve version where you can just go sign up on the website. There's a free 14-day trial. Thereafter, $77 a month. And that is self-serve. It will provide you with these profit per customer or lifetime value metrics, your acquisition cost metrics over time, different ways to slice and dice the data. However, we do offer another version of the product, which is between $500 and $1,000 a month, where you effectively get access to our growth team. And so they will understand where you are as a business, what your priorities are. Are you more growth focused? Are you more profitability focused? And we will come up with a growth plan and go through that, those scenarios that I outlined earlier, like picking out which ASINs have really good growth potential with the data to back it up around, retention rates and all that sort of stuff. And so you get access to our growth team, a monthly call where we'll pick out all the interesting data points, suggest actions to take off the back of that, et cetera, et cetera. So, we work with a range of customers. We started off mostly working with just sellers directly, typically a founder in the business. But then we would be getting, let's say, larger customers that are bigger, even public companies and things like that, where it's, if you're head of e-commerce or you're head of marketplaces and Amazon falls within that, this is super interesting because you're very likely doing this on other channels as well.
Yeah,
just hasn't been available to do on Amazon yet. And we work a lot with aggregators. So aggregators, it's probably 2 use cases with the aggregator. The core use case still stands.
So by an aggregator, you mean one of these people who's bought up a lot of FBA brands? Like
exactly.
Thrasio is that one? And
Thrasio would be an example of an aggregator. Yeah, absolutely. But there are loads of aggregators these days. I mean, they have a slightly different focus. But yes, the idea absolutely is they've raised a lot of money to go buy FBA businesses, combine them under one sort of umbrella, and help grow them effectively. Mm-hmm. So we work with a lot of them because clearly they've got a lot of money and a strong balance sheet. And so they are often in a position to be patient, to say, hey, I don't need to break even on that first purchase. I'm happy to wait 6 months. I'm happy to wait 12 months. I've got deep pockets to do that. That means we can be more aggressive on new customer acquisition and market share sort of targets. And so we'll work with them on that kind of use case. And then finally, we do offer a version of the product for, let's say, consultants or agencies as well.
Mm-hmm. So how do you see, obviously you deal with lots of different, you're immersed on Amazon, you see lots of different Amazon businesses. How do you see Amazon progressing?
Yeah, I mean, that's a tough one. I mean, where I see a lot of Amazon investments on the API side, the API being how someone connects their accounts. Someone needs to connect the Amazon accounts to Nozzle so that we can obviously get all the data. That's via what's called an API. Yeah. And so we obviously have a relationship with the various API teams within Amazon. So if we use where Amazon's investing a lot as a proxy for where I think Amazon's going on a product, and that's a big if, then I would say Amazon's DSP is a massive area of focus for them. They've invested.
So DSP,
their demand side platform. So this is an advertising product which does display ads, right, like banner ads and things. But the crucial thing with Amazon's DSP is you can show an ad to somebody who's not actually on Amazon. It can be anywhere on the internet, right? And they've just got all the target. So that use case where right at the beginning where I was saying you can retarget somebody with an ad, they don't have to be on Amazon for me to retarget them, right? I could just retarget them wherever they are on the internet, knowing that they bought from me, at least at most 60 days ago, right? And so that product they're investing a lot. They're investing a lot in the Amazon Marketing Cloud. So again, that's not much is known about the AMC, but the Amazon Marketing Cloud is this idea of putting a lot of Amazon data, but it doesn't have to just be Amazon data. If you trust Amazon, again, a big if, and you can put some of your, Shopify data in there, and you're able to do a match with, customers, and you're able to stitch together a journey of somebody first saw my sponsored brand video on the 1st of January, then they clicked an ad, on the 4th of January on Amazon, then they saw that same, banner ad or whatever it is on the 7th of January, then they purchased on the 10th of January. So being able to stitch together that customer journey is a big part of it. So those are the very big areas of Amazon's investments and kind of a lot of the new products that are coming out. So I think that's definitely one way to look at it. Another way to look at it, and I really don't know which way this could go. Amazon's clearly under massive regulatory scrutiny. And so if you're asking me what the Amazon ecosystem would look like at any given time across the world, they're being fined left, right, and center for all sorts of things, rightly or wrongly, you could argue. But there's always this threat of ultimately, if regulators intervene, it could have massive implications for how Amazon structured, right, and what it means for FBA sellers and as a result of that. I mean, I'm on an email newsletter where I don't know if it's like an official Amazon one, I'm not sure, but they're always, here's a webinar of what this could mean for Amazon. Here's the latest, what's going on the regulatory side. I think that's something you certainly can't ignore in today's environment.
Yeah, because I talk to you and I think that what is, your company is an example that Amazon is becoming more of a self-enclosed search engine with advertising with, the kind you're basically trying to do the kind of things, as you say, that you would do if you have your own off Amazon business, but you're bringing you're taking that kind of that functionality and bringing it onto Amazon, which is another, it's another kind of facet of Amazon just becoming an entirely closed ecosystem where people, you've got customers that you can retain customers without leaving Amazon at all. So to a certain extent, then do people need, it's meaning that people more and more don't need anything else?
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean,
it makes me sad, incidentally. It makes me sad.
I mean, however, and this might be a little bit controversial, I do think some of the regulatory decisions that have been taken have produced this outcome at the end of the day. Because if you take such a strict line on privacy, for instance, and personal information and all those sort of things, and GDPR in Europe and all those sort of issues, then it kind of, who's the best place to benefit from all of these regulatory overheads and all that? It's basically Facebook, Google, and Amazon to begin with. They've got the first-party data relationships in the first place, and the consent from everyone to do these sorts of things. And so it makes it much easier for them to just build a wall around themselves and say, we're completely compliant, and your user experience is also a hell of a lot better because it's all sort of self-contained. And so I think it's been one of the side effects of whether it's GDPR specifically or just the very privacy focused stuff about not sharing data anywhere else. They're like, okay, that kind of suits me.
Yeah,
and it trenches.
You've got to be careful what you wish for, haven't you? Because I mean, I look at Amazon. I think, wouldn't it be great if that Amazon didn't compete against sellers?
Yeah,
it was just a marketplace. But
that's one of the big areas of investigation, obviously.
Well, right? So I was saying, I said to someone, look, wouldn't it be great? I think that Amazon is going to have to choose between being a marketplace and a retailer. And she said, well, I don't wish that, because I think what will happen if Amazon have to choose, they'll choose themselves.
They'll choose vendor.
They'll choose vendor. And I thought, that's a really good point.
Yeah. So that was that email list that I was on, that I was telling you about earlier. I mean, that's definitely one of the outcomes that they talk about, is actually if the regulation doesn't, go well, or one of the unintended consequences, or maybe it's intended, I don't know, might be that seller just falls away.
Yes,
I think it's unlikely and pretty extreme, but it's certainly something that people are talking about.
It is interesting. I just thought, I hadn't thought of that. Okay, great. Last question. It's a biggie. What has inspired you recently? Could be anything. What have you?
Interesting. I mean, I think I came across I actually can't remember who the quote is from, unfortunately, but basically, listen to your customers, not the experts. And I just think that's so true. I'm trying to build a product here, software product or whatever it is, and you can speak to as many sort of Amazon experts and all that sort of stuff, but that's ultimately your customers should be your compass there, right, and your North Star. And you can go very wrong very quickly listening to experts as opposed to your actual customers. I'm not saying that you extrapolate this as a motto for life, but so it's certainly company building.
Dangerously close to what Michael Gove said. Is this dangerously close to what Michael Gove said?
What did he say?
What he said. Do you remember the Brexit thing? It was like,
the experts. Sorry, the experts.
Yeah, everyone's had enough of experts.
Totally. But that's what I'm saying. I'm making sure to say that this is within a company building context and software specifically, right, around what your customers do rather than what experts think that they will, what experts think your customers will do. So definitely not extrapolating sort of to life in general. But I think that's been really useful in just thinking about, general decision making of what we should do as a business and all that sort of stuff. Is actually it's the customers.
It's like Jeff Bezos, customer first.
There you go.
I learned from Jeff. Well, it's been great talking to you. Thanks so much for sharing your new business, and I shall put the links in the notes.
Thank you so much. It's been great.
Thanks for having me. I hope we speak again soon. Bye bye.
Likewise. Cheers, Trevor. Bye.